Today's podcast is about the best offensive player between Nebraska and Purdue.
You are Locked On Huskers, your daily podcast on the Nebraska Cornhuskers, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Heard what the good lady says. I'm DP. Thank you for making Locked On Huskers your first watch and listen each and every single day, and I appreciate you. Those of you who have subscribed and get this content every day, thank you very much. Greatly appreciate it. Before we get into this show, lots to cover. I want to talk offense today. Before we do that, Mark Onweiler, please, kind sir, let the fans know about FanDuel.
Thank you, DP. This episode of Locked On Huskers is brought to you by FanDuel. Snap into action this NFL season with FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. Right now, new customers can get $200 in bonus bets guaranteed when you place a $500 bet. That's $200 in bonus bets, win or lose. If you've been thinking about joining FanDuel, there's no better time to get in on the action. The app is so easy to use. There's a wide range of betting options, including spreads, player props, over-unders, and more. So visit FanDuel.com/lockedon and kick off the NFL season. FanDuel, an official partner of the NFL. DP, back to you.
Thank you, sir. Greatly appreciate it. And again, there's lots of juice in the air. A 2-5 team and a 4-3 team. Nebraska comes into this thing on a win streak. Purdue coming into this week off a terrible performance against Ohio State, but we understand because it's Ohio State. I want to focus on the offensive side of the ball and to figure out exactly what is in play when it comes to these two teams offensively. Memorial Stadium will host Purdue and Nebraska, and the question for me is, who's going to be the best offensive player on the team? And you can tell me in the comments below who you think the best offensive player is and who will be. You can say that you think a certain player is the best player, but this is the player you think will have the biggest opportunity to have a big game on Saturday. That's the conversation that I want to have. Who will be the players and the playmakers, the folks that will determine the outcome? What offensive players will have the most impact and influence on the outcome of Saturday's game? And there's several things to that, because there's the good and the not so good. I don't want to say it's the other thing, good and not so good, because an offensive player can have the kind of day that impacts the outcome of the game in a negative way. I want to focus on the positive, and I want to go up and down these rosters and give you some of the stats so you can kind of go with me on how this plays out. Now, we'll start with Nebraska because there's a couple of things that jump out when we talk about numbers, and I don't want it to be so much about opinion that we miss the basic stuff, that we miss the basic things. What we have to admit is that Nebraska will have 3 new starters on the offensive line, and because of that, maybe there'll be a difference in production. Maybe there'll be a difference in things that they will feature. For the offensive linemen who are out, and if you're talking about Bryce Benhart being out, Turner Corcoran being out, Ethan Piper being out, Norrie being out, the 3 starters of the 5 are out. Yes, you have a long-time returning starter in Teddy Prohaska to put in play. Yes, you have Hendon Lutovsky at right tackle who's had several starts and received quality minutes. Then you get into, then you get into replacements, and not all offensive linemen are built the same or excel at the same thing. So when you have this group may be better against the run, in the run game. This group may be better in pass pro. The communication that's going to take place between Ben Scott and the 2 new guards that sit next to him, and then the new tackle that he's going to have to get his communications to in short form, may impact Nebraska and what they try to do over the course of this thing. But what do we know about Nebraska offensively? Well, we know they're young at receiver and they're new at receiver. To say that this is an inexperienced group is a statement of truth. That the leading pass receiver is Billy Kemp, who will not play. He had 21 catches. The leading pass catcher, had 21 catches and will not play. So the leading pass receiver for Nebraska is with 15 catches. That's a number. You have to say it out loud to give it real relevance. That 15 receptions. Thomas Fidone leads the team with 15 catches. He also leads the team with 3 touchdown passes. He also, in the space that we're talking about, Marcus Washington isn't going to play. Billy Kemp's not going to play. You're missing some other folks. It's a different depth chart. Alex Bullock becomes the most experienced of the players, right? Nate Borkature is third. So you have 2 tight ends that are first and third. And Borkature with 5 catches is third. So do you think that it is because the talent that existed didn't allow you to, or are you forced with a different receiver group now to call plays to the talent of the people who are going to be on the field? We saw Malachi Coleman, and folks in Lincoln know Malachi Coleman. And you know what the expectation is, and you got a glimpse of it on the big ball, the 40-plus yarder for a touchdown on Saturday against Northwestern. But the numbers will tell you that of the starter players who are going to start and probably get substantial run, listen, if Jaden Doss is starting at the slot position, he has 1 catch. 1. Malachi Coleman will start at one of the receivers' position. He has 2. Ty Hahn has 1 catch. Jalen Lloyd has 1 catch. Joshua Fleeks, who probably won't even play wide receiver, you've moved him. And there was some conversation of whether you move him back to receiver because it's a position of need. But Alex Bullock is the leading wideout with 8 catches. 8. A lot of that will tell you that, okay, 1, that's who the group was. Now you get some questions about who the group is. Is this new group athletic and strong enough to allow you to extend the offense, go into the deep game, throw the ball around? Can you put some defensive backs under duress? This is a Purdue defense that gives up big plays and is giving up a ton of points. Oh my goodness! If you're Marcus Satterfield, I'm sure he's in the lab. I'm not sure what he's concocting, but he's in the lab and he's trying to figure out exactly what ingredients he has so that he can put together a masterpiece against Purdue on Saturday. And we don't know what he's coming up with. We really won't know until we see it, but we have our eyes to it. That's just in the passing game, and that brings Harburg into the discussion because in order for him to be the best player on the field, it's probably going to require that he make some plays in the passing game and more plays in the run game. All of that's stating the truth because we've seen that Nebraska offense is better when Harburg can run and throw. Run and throw. It can't be either or. That's not enough in the Big Ten, even against a 2-5 Purdue team. They're going to have to do both. How is he going to do it? Well, we just talked about the receivers. When we come back, we'll talk about the running game, and then we'll jump over to Purdue and talk about what they have in play. This is Locked On Huskers. Hey, gang, welcome back. It's DP. Thank you for watching Locked On Huskers and be a part of our crew that hangs out with us and those that have subscribed. Thank you. Those who haven't, click the button, get the subscription, it's free. But you want the content to flow to you, and you'll get notification that the content exists. Before we get back into the offense for Nebraska, Mark Onwell, would he let him know about eBay Motors?
Thank you, DP. This episode of Locked On Huskers is brought to you by eBay Motors. Passion, drive, and patience. What brings home the winning trophy is also what keeps your ride or die alive. eBay Motors has everything you need to maintain your vehicle and level it up to peak performance. From superchargers, roof racks, exhaust kits, LED headlights, and more. Whether you're into speed, power, or style, eBay Motors has got you covered. With over 122 million parts for your number one ride or die, you'll always find exactly what you're looking for. And with eBay Guaranteed Fit, your part is guaranteed to fit your ride every time or your money back. Because with eBay Motors, you're burning rubber, not cash. With all the parts you need at the prices you want, it's easy to turn your car into the MVP and bring home that win. Keep your ride or die alive at ebaymotors.com. Eligible items only. Exclusions apply. eBay guaranteed fit only available to U.S. customers. DP, back to you.
Thank you, sir. Greatly appreciate it. Again, I'm in the juice. I'm in the Kool-Aid. I'm in the vibe now. I'm trying to figure out exactly what this thing is that Nebraska offensively is and can be, and then who's going to be the best offensive player on the field Saturday. That if Nebraska 253 plays and 12 touchdowns in those plays. So that's one touchdown every 20 plays. Every 21 plays. Wrap your brain around that for a second. 12 touchdowns in 253 plays. That means that Nebraska is scoring one touchdown every 21 plays. And if you're not getting the volume of plays that you want, I mean, again, extending drives, right? Having control, moving the chains, getting all those things in play, then that tells you that, okay, to score 3 touchdowns, you need 60 offensive plays. It means you need to be on the field. It means you can't kick yourself off with turnovers, and you cannot just simply be 3 and out. That's the process. That Nebraska averaging 360 yards a game, substantial numbers, is that enough? Now, here's the question. With a full receiving group, this team has been under the number when it comes to receptions and passing yards. Are you satisfied with those numbers? Probably not. Probably not. But in the run game, you're talking about who would be the most explosive, effective, productive player offensively. Well, the name has to be Heinrich Haarberg. That if he's going to throw, and he's thrown for 5 touchdown passes, he's 51% completion. You want that number higher. You want the number higher. 58 completions in 7 games. That tells you you're rolling in at just under, as an average, 8 completions out of your 14 passes. 8 of 14, 8 of 15. Somewhere along those lines with 5 interceptions. Is that enough to beat Purdue? Yeah, if you're getting the production in the run game. And that's why Haarberg, who leads this team with 508 yards rushing, yards gained. Now, if you consider sacks and that sort of thing, that number drops down to 424. But he's still averaging 5 yards a carry and has scored 4 touchdowns. Anthony Grant is second with net yardage of 302 yards. Now, I don't have a full gauge and understanding of what's going on with Anthony Grant. Emmett Johnson got the reps and put in production 70-plus yards rushing. He has 117 for the season, averaging 5 yards a carry. And if you're not putting the ball on the ground, you get to stay in the game. The number 3 running back is Joshua Fleeks with 5 carries. He's got the big run for 74 yards. The other 4 carries, he has 11 yards. Are you buying into that? You're missing Ramir Johnson. You're missing Gabe Urban. Listen, the running game with Haarberg being effective has a chance to do what Nebraska needs to do, which is keep Purdue's offense on the sideline, keep that passing game in check. I want them on the headphones, not on the field. Haarberg has to be the best offensive player for Nebraska. Fedoni has to show up. Malachi Coleman gives you some stretch. These receivers have to be productive. You trust Emmett Johnson to give you positive yardage, 5 yards a carry and no turnovers. Anthony Grant, we know how explosive he is after his 900-yard season a year ago. But it's Haarberg who will make this thing go if it needs to go the way that Nebraska fans want it to. He's going to need to be above the 60 yards per game average. He needs to be at about 80, anywhere between 80 and 100. But that's just me. That's just me. I understand how folks look at this stuff, but this is how I'm looking at it. From Purdue's standpoint, look, here's the thing, that Devin Huckabee averages 4.5 yards a carry. He's got 4 touchdowns. He's getting his 15 carries a game. He's putting up the 68 yards a game. He's scoring every other game, so this is in play. Tyrone Tracy. So he's the Thunder. The Lightning is Tyrone Tracy, who has half the carries of Maccabee for just under 300 yards, but he's averaging almost 6 yards a carry. He's got 5 touchdowns. So not only is he getting the rock and moving the offense, but he's putting points on the board as he leads his team in touchdowns, running the ball. Deion Burks is the top receiver, 27 catches. He's got 5 touchdown passes as well, averaging 60 yards a game. If Burks or Maccabee are the best offensive players on the field, it means that Hudson Card has had a great day. Card's not the best runner. He's mobile in the pocket. He's fluid in the pocket and moving to space. 7 touchdowns, throwing for 60%, almost 61% completions. 1,600 yards, averaging 231 yards a game. And I give you that 231 yards a game number because it's 4th in the Big Ten. There are only 3 programs who've thrown the ball with such efficiency and effectiveness that they're above Purdue. TJ Sheffield, who had 2 touchdowns against Nebraska a year ago, is the 3rd leading receiver, but second in receptions, 3rd in yards. They've got a triple-headed monster. Abdul Rahman Yassin has 25 catches for 13 yards a catch. And then Max Clare, they get into the tight end game, and they feed him as the chain mover. He's also got over 20 catches. Purdue spreads the ball around on offense. They spread the ball around on defense. And what it does to teams, and when you look at the film, what it does to teams is it checks their ability to be patient and consistent. Are you willing to do your job, stay in your role, not look for work, not get cute or fancy in your play call? If you're going to send an extra defender, can you get home and get Card to the ground? Because it's important that you do. And whether it's you with a spy or you simply blitzing and getting home, the way to disrupt Purdue, and the teams that have done so, put pressure on the quarterback. And if you can get pressure on the quarterback, if Nebraska's defense can do that, and their ability to swap up who's going to show up, who's going to actually blitz, and who drops in the coverage and reads the routes and the combinations that are coming at them, well, Nebraska has a chance to provide some drama and some stress for Purdue offensively. We'll throw the break. We'll come back. We'll finish out and go through some more of the numbers because the numbers don't lie. This game has the ability to be a really good one at Memorial Stadium. Hey, gang, DP here, Locked On Huskers, and it's Beat Purdue week. Beat the Boilermakers. And there were some folks that got a little funky about talking about Ryan Walters and what he said about not liking the N and hating the N and not liking Nebraska because of his legacy and his time at Colorado and his connection to Colorado and what Nebraska was. Well, that's just a statement that, quite frankly, makes sense to me. That, look, if you beat me up all the time, I'm not going to like you either. I think it's a compliment that Coach Walters doesn't like Nebraska. I'm pretty sure that Matt Rule's like, yeah, that's fair. Nebraska fans should be flattered, humbled even. Oh, you think enough of us to hate us. Because that hasn't always been the case, and that hasn't been recent tendency. So to have a coach in the Big Ten Conference tell you, you know what, we pay attention. I don't like the crowd. They're loud. There's a whole lot of them. I don't like playing there. Yeah. That's a compliment to Nebraska and Husker Nation. But here's the thing. The players who heard those comments have an opportunity to make plays and to change how he speaks about Nebraska. It's vital, super vital for Nebraska offensively to set the tone. None of us know what it's really going to look like with that group of 5 out there leading the way and making blocks. From calling audibles to identifying blitz packages to the verbiage and communicating. I'm not sure the last time in a game situation, other than the final few days of final few moments of Northwestern, of knowing what this offensive line looked like, what its tendencies are, what they do well. If you know the answer to what these 5 do well together, please feel free to put them in the comments because I'm not sure I have that answer. It's a different group. And some of the change and the challenge will be that Borkacher and Fedoni will have to help out this new offensive line. And they can help it by doing several things. Point of attack with motion, sending him at a chip defender. It can be in normal rotation of just letting them get hat on hat and move bodies. Or it could be, quite frankly, deception. And them rolling into space behind the play action to get into space that Purdue doesn't cover very well. Nebraska offensively has an opportunity to dominate this game by simply moving the ball, being consistent with it, don't turn it over, no penalties. No dumb penalties and no dumb turnovers. That's the sign that Nebraska is not only prepared, but that it deserves to win. We'll get into the defenses tomorrow, and we'll talk about how they match up and what each one does well and how they're going to be affected and impacted by all this. But I'll say this, on a day where everybody thinks defense is the word, it could be, and it might be, Nebraska's offense that turns the table and changes the conversation this week. Heinrich Haarberg has to be better than Purdue and all of its offensive players. As a matter of fact, Heinrich Haarberg has to be the best version of Heinrich Haarberg Husker fans have seen. And I don't mean that in a whimsical way. I need for him to take care of the offense, take care of the ball, avoid penalties, make smart plays with it, and be a leader to whatever's happening on the field at Memorial Stadium. It's vital and it's important. It's not for everybody. But if Heinrich Haarberg is the best offensive player on the field Saturday, Nebraska will leave the field at 5-3. If he's not, they got a battle in for him. There's a brawl. We'll see how it plays out. I'm DP. Thank you for making Locked On Huskers your first watch and listen each and every single day. And we'll close this episode with the 3 words that Purdue will hear in their sleep and we love so much. Go Big